Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Kichdi. Kichdi is a project, a podcast by Mlabs, and the goal is to have slightly more informal conversations with our guests and give you and us the opportunity together to learn more about them and kind of let it be explorative in nature. So I'm looking forward to the conversation, and I hope you stay tuned. So today in Kichdi, we have an amazing guest. I've been looking forward to having this conversation with her for the past, I think, since she got here about a month ago. So her name is Isra Shabir, and she is the director of business development at Girls Makes Games. And she's here from the USA and has so much to talk to us about, and we're really looking forward to, just getting to know her a little bit better. Isra, please, introduce yourself again.
Okay.
And let the audience know anything that I might have missed out.
All good. Thank you, Sophia. I'm really excited to be here on this Kichdi podcast by Mlabs. So a little bit about me. I am, like Sophia said, I'm the director of programs at Girls Make Games, programs and business development at Girls Make Games. And मैं Pakistan last year आई थी at a 92 Disrupt conference in Karachi, and I met Yasser at that conference. So we were on the same panel, and he was just like, we're running Mlabs, and our initiative is to help all these younger generation of Pakistan to get into game dev. And I was like, you know what? Yes, that's what we're doing in the US, but primarily with a girls focus. And he was like, well, the next time you're in Pakistan, just come over to Mlabs and we can, be together for some time, do a workshop or something like that. And that's how I, found myself with this amazing community of builders, creators, and I'm really looking forward to whatever Sophia has to talk to me about. But yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Amazing. So, reiterating that we've loved having you here for the past month. And I think before we get into the bulk of the conversation, I think I just want to start with how has your experience been? So for everyone, I know I should have introduced myself. I didn't. I'm Sophia. I work at Mlabs. I'm the research officer, and and I think why the comms team here thought it might be a good idea for us to have this conversation is because something that I feel strongly about is women coming into this industry because of the opportunities that it has, that we'll talk more about in the later part of the podcast. So it just made sense for us to talk about these things and for me to understand a little bit more about, how Isra has come into this industry and what her experience has been in the US and here. And also maybe map it to some of the things that I've observed in Pakistan in the limited time that I've been in this industry as well. Yeah. So coming back to the conversation, how is it being in Pakistan at Mlabs?
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's been really fun. So I've been, kind of going back and forth between the studio department and then the Mlabs initiative. Obviously, I enjoy sitting in the Mlabs part more because of amazing people like yourself. Doesn't mean to say that, the other studios, anything wrong with them, but, they're making a game, they're making games. And I think right now I'm more aligned with what you guys are doing. So yeah, definitely, I feel like I was very happy to see this initiative is being taken seriously, and pretty much everyone who is involved, from Yasser to, let's say, Nofes, for example. I mean, everyone is very, very passionate in a way about what they're doing, and they're doing their job really well. So for me, that was a very positive thing to see, because when I was coming to Pakistan, and ये मेरे साथ बहुत दफा हो चुका हुआ है कि मेरा हमेशा कोई और impression होता है when I'm going in, but then, something breaks that impression. So I was told, you went to Pakistan, you wanted figure out कि लोग कैसे काम करते हैं, but trust me, Pakistan में लोग काम नहीं करते.
Yeah.
So that was what I was told. I was like, no, listen, people have been doing work. I went to this conference, they are doing stuff there. I'm going to go to Mlabs, see how it is. And yeah, I think what I was expecting, I saw, and even it surpassed those expectations. So for me, it's a very positive experience in that sense. But then I also know that I'm not sure if this is truly representative of other offices and other work environments, but I'm hoping that if there is one, there's always inspiration and there's always an example to work towards. So in that sense, it's been really great.
I think like what you touched on is it the norm? And I wonder about this because I do see this, and that in different places, some of the, I wouldn't say work ethic necessarily, but that a focus towards achieving a goal is not as it's not like a key driver.
Yeah.
Because, and I feel some of it is just hopelessness in like the general society as a whole about like being a champion change, because there's so many political, economic things. There's so many things that we've grown up with that have kind of like pushed us into thinking that that we can't really be an agent of any kind of change. So I think in that case, having Yasser and Yasser having that belief that in even a small capacity you can do something. 100%. And similarly, I mean with your organization, but with the obstacles that come with it, having an entire team that's dedicated to it makes a difference. Because I feel like if there's one person and it's not kind of backed up with the efforts of an entire team, people can become really demoralized.
100%.
Yeah.
And just to add to that, I think obviously like that is all a part of the culture that you create, right?
Yeah.
Like, you when you hire someone, it's about like you're creating this team. You think about who you're going to work with. If they don't really resonate with what and how you envision, then even that small change that you're talking about, it's not possible to have any impact, right? So obviously it's very hard to find the right people. But then I think that is where everyone starts, find people who have the same values, the same principles, and who are willing to, set aside themselves for a little bit and come play this hat or play this role in whatever that collective vision is. Say, like space, like educating the next generation of creators. Right?
Yeah. And so I think the next question logically follows is like, what's your journey and how did GMG go about, making this, or finding these people who had the same vision, and, how did you come into it?
Yeah.
And how did you align your vision to maybe, what's happening in your company as well? Yeah.
That's a very good question. I think journey ka to kahin to I have a very it wasn't a straight journey.
Yeah.
I did a bunch of different things. So I studied computer science in my undergrad. Then I went on to become a software engineer. And then I was a software engineer for about 5 years. And I was like, man, like, I know I like coding, but I don't like this, environment. And I'm not saying they were bad companies. They were really good companies. But it's just that, like, I wanted to find something that I had more heart in.
Mm.
And the cool thing is, like, my sister started this company when I was in college. So for me, I had always seen it from the sidelines and I knew that there is impact. But I was always of the opinion that I want to do software. I want to stay in high tech. I don't want to do games. But as I grew older and as I had already gotten that experience of like the tech world and, what coding and engineering is like, I was like, okay, now I'm ready for a change. And it just came about, when coincidentally things happen. So I was in a city where they moved the company to. And it was like, okay, this is a good point to maybe make a change. And really, I wasn't sure what role I would fit in because I was, I had my training was an engineer's training. And this is a company where more generalists or leaders and generalists would be more appropriate
for the role. Yeah.
So for me, I was like, okay, I'm just going to go in and see what are we doing? How can I best learn it? And then wahan se, like, what can we do from there? So I know you asked a couple of different questions, so I don't want to, continue talking. But yeah, it was a very like non-linear journey.
Yeah.
For me, what really attracted me was that we're working on something that is really, really impactful. I have first-handed seen the girls change, even within as much as 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And we're working with games, which are naturally a very fun medium. So अब मुझे वो जो heart वाला element है वो आ चुका हुआ है, and I'm way more passionate about like expanding the reach of a program like this and making it even more fun.
Yeah. Very like if you could just touch on how did your sister get into this as well? Yeah. How did she? Because I mean, I can see that she definitely roped you in, and from our conversations earlier, really through the years convinced you and propelled you towards this field. But how did it start for her, and was she an avid gamer or what?
I will tell you, that's also a very interesting journey. So, usme the thing was, she was an economist.
Okay.
She wanted to do a PhD in economics, and then she met a guy who was a pro gamer. So her husband is a pro Halo player, ex-pro Halo player, and वो एक interesting match हो गया कि like, you know, he was a gamer, she was a business and econ person. They started a company, they started a studio, a game studio. And then my sister was trying to hire people, and all she found was guys who were applying. Literally एक 1.5 साल उनका studio, they were making a game, and everyone, all the applicants were all guys, and she was like, where are the girls? Like, you know, what's happening? So she was like, let's start like an experimental camp where we just, you know, have all girls come in, try to learn some game development, try to have some fun, have like a collaborative community, and see what comes out of it, right? It was something that they, you know, it was supposed to be a one-time thing, but it was so good. But like the girls were just like, can we like extend this program to like the whole year? We don't want to go back to school. We just want to do this. And they were just like transformation. Just like it was a huge transformation in those girls itself. And so that gave Leila the motivation that, you know, I would like to do this in more cities with more students. And so after that year, she expanded the program into like 10 different cities. And then from there, matlab 10 saal ho gaye, this is our 10th year. We've just, you know, continuously expanded. We've reached about 23,000 girls. But it really started as an experiment. And that too because she was a girl and she was like, I don't want to, you you know?
Yeah, that's such a cool story. And I feel like just, I can see some similarities between, you know, the initiation process and the initiation process at and that you heard about like
I don't know the I'd like to know the reiteration. Let's talk.
So I mean this is again going to be, you know, a very broad version. हाँ ये भी बस सही शायद भी now valid. ये बस मुझे ये पता है तुम्हें ये बताऊंगी पर क्या पता ये fake news हो. But no, मुझे पता है वो ये कि apparently शुरू में यासिर ने LinkedIn पे post लगाया था. And he said कि you know कि we're opening up this internship program और हम probably we're going to train I don't know 10 students और हम उनको funnel करेंगे कि best को शायद Mlabs employ कर लेगा या ऐसे कुछ. पर apparently वो LinkedIn post आया तो इतना एक overwhelming response था. And then they thought, okay, this is interesting. Maybe we should just open it up to everyone.
Yeah.
And then it kind of just it happened, you know. Yeah. It's almost like the program asked for it to be implemented, you know. Yeah. So there was a need और फिर उस need को उन्होंने capitalize किया.
Exactly.
But I also think the ability to see a need and capitalize on it is so important, you know. And I can probably, you know, in Yela's case and Yasir's case, तो मैं ये नहीं कहा कि ठीक है हम अब अपने जो हमारा एक set idea हम उस पे रहे, हम थोड़ा सा, you know, flexible.
Dynamic, basically.
Exactly. हाँ.
And like you're touching on a very interesting point, which is like you don't always have like a plan.
Yeah.
It's something comes up and you're like, मुझे एक spark आ रहा है इस चीज से, and let me try to explore it more.
Yeah.
And that's probably what, let's say, Mlabs did, and that's what GMG did. Is like I said, we were a game studio.
Yeah.
And हमने वो game studio, like, you know, we still have like a small version of it, but that's not, we actually, like GMG has taken over in a way of the game studio. I mean, we want to expand it at some point, but abhi jo hai na, like our primary operation is GMG.
Yeah.
Like I said, we've reached 23,000 kids. That's not a small number.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah.
So as you said, everything is a very iterative process, and aapko nahi pata hota ki like next step kya hoga, kya nahi hoga. Like I really didn't think that I'd be working in games.
Yeah.
I had not visioned it. But now that I'm in it, I'm like, this is a really fun media. This is also, मुझे जो चीज़ drive करती है वो ये है, which is also my sister and all the other people who are working at the company. It's a very next dunya ka, like the new world, entertainment form. Like people don't just watch movies now; they want to be entertained by games. So for us, it's like an inspiration. Ke we want to shape the industry, and not just have like one kinds of games or like, you know, a form of entertainment. We want the diversity. I think I was talking to Assam the other day, you know, like, yeah, like why do we want girls in this industry? Because girls have a different voice than boys do. I might want to create something else, and it's a natural diversity. It's not like it's a forced diversity, right? So I don't want to necessarily play the games that are all out there. बहुत ज़्यादा बहुत the cheap games, yeah. But I do want to make certain kinds of games and play those.
Yeah,
fun doing that. So yeah,
and I think now just with how people are thinking about learning, how people are thinking that learning shouldn't just be restricted to this classroom, and there's so many applications. So even when I interact with students, the first thing that they come to me and say is कि उनके सबसे ज़्यादा जो एक पेरेंट्स की तरफ से एक हेजिटेशन आते हैं, वो कहते हैं कि तुम गेम्स बना रहे हो. And the thing is, once you know that skill set, you can apply to academia. Everyone is thinking about how do you make learning more fun, because it's so much of the system that we've been following for so long is so mundane. I remember when I was very young, I used to play this game, and उसमें ये था, it was a board game, और उसमें ये था कि आपने हर country के अपने capitals को identify करना होता था. And I remember because I wasn't aware, I was learning कि हम मुझे सारे एक point पे countries के आते थे, and my mom से पता होता है तुम्हें book में लिखा हुआ है, you have never enjoyed it. So I think there's so many ways in which you can learn without knowing that you're learning. It's like और भी games है that are like multiplication, math games, so I feel like there's so much just application that we're just not looking at right now.
No, you've raised such a good point. Like, literally, that is our ethos.
Yeah.
We want to make learning fun. So we're not necessarily a games company only. We're an educational games company.
Yeah.
And our goal is to get kids excited about being able to make games at some point. हम ये भी नहीं कहते कि in those 3 weeks or like the 1-day workshops that they become game developers necessarily. But what they become is someone who is comfortable making games, someone who when they grow older, they'd be like, I have made games in the past. I remember how fun it was. I remember how it was not like a classroom. And this is something that I can be excited about. So for us, like when we are designing a curriculum, the one thing we try to do is to keep it as engaging and meaningful and like, something that will teach them how to think as opposed to just being boring. But ye steps hain or ye seekh lo or like, ye game mein like, that's not the goal. And going back to what you were saying, like games make learning fun.
Yeah.
So if you can teach someone how to think through a fun medium like games, then you are definitely doing something right.
Because there's so much critical thinking involved in games, I mean, I see these, all of my, colleagues and friends, and they're playing games and they're going through such such a complicated obstacle course to achieve the next level.
Yeah.
And, और फिर उन्हें क्या होता है, सिर्फ games खेलना. I'm like, सिर्फ क्या वो games कैसे हो खेल रहे हो? मतलब keep sharpening it now.
They have skills. Like you said, बहुत सारी games होती है, puzzle games होती हैं. And you have to kind of figure out कि उस player को किस तरह उस puzzle के through end goal तक लेके जाना है. And that requires like active thinking. It's not just you mindlessly pressing some buttons. And aajkal, though, because there's so many games, a lot of people are very focused on making these games like challenging and harder and have some like, a theme to it so that it's not just like any other game. So yeah, I think ये थोड़ी education की ज़रूरत है. And it's not just people here in Pakistan. It's a global thing because games was a very small industry.
Yeah.
So बहुत simple किस्म की, बहुत एक किस्म की, one kind of games were being made. But now, thankfully, because games have become a more popular medium, we are seeing a very, increase in a huge increase in the kinds of different games that are being made. So hopefully, in the next 10 years, when the parents will see कि वो game के बच्चे खेल रहे हैं, they're actually becoming more creative as a result of that, then that perception will change, right?
Yeah.
But of course, like it'll take time and more initiatives like Mlabs and Girls Make Games, I guess.
And so many more. I mean, like obviously, Girls Makes Games is doing amazing work, and also there's so many other people that are trying to tap into the ed tech. I have a friend and he has this a startup here, and वो मतलब they're teacher training और pedagogy के अंदर they're working on it through games. So because teachers के लिए इतना ज़ाब होता है कि अब वो एक workshop attend करें, उन्हें रोज़ की वापसी के journey के लिए I think they were implementing it at that time कि वो कोई game खेल रहे हैं और उन्हें ना मतलब फ़र्क चीज़ें कर रहे हैं, कोई MCQs हैं and they're answering that or super short videos हैं. So people are trying to implement it to make people's lives easier and make learning fun.
Exactly.
So coming back to a little bit like आपका curriculum. So how did मतलब किस तरह का curriculum है? Is it because it's Girls Make Games? Is it more focused towards women, or is it an inclusive curriculum?
So the curriculum is it doesn't have anything to do with gender.
Okay.
So we have curriculum that is actually living online and anyone can access it. So democratic मतलब कोई भी access कर सकता है. But our programs, the environment, the in-person camps, or let's say the virtual camps, or like the workshops, those are girls only.
Okay.
We have created girls only spaces.
ठीक है.
That's the idea behind girls. But otherwise, like anyone can learn what we have created. And what have we created? So our program mostly walks you through like how to make a game. And we've done that with multiple platforms. So there's educational platforms that are like just for making, like testing and prototyping games. And then there's more industry grade engines as well, like Unity, Unreal, Stencil, ek do aur hain. So we have created both kinds of curriculum. But at the end of the day, like the core is, it tells you what are all the elements that go into a game. So this can be anything from programming to level design to narrative, like kya dialogue aana chahiye, how do you think about a character placement, and then music, art, all of that. How do you combine all of that and then make a game eventually? When we talk about like the online lessons, we've kept it more simplified. So it's like, okay, these are the concepts. Here's how you learn it, and then now you can, go and expand on this on your own. But when we're at, let's say, at our 3-week camp, we teach the fundamentals to the girls, but then we incentivize them through like a competition at the end of camp. Usse ye hota hai ki the girls get very excited about learning even more about game development because they want to make complicated games. They want to make more fun games so that the game wins. And that is a very customized learning. So let's say if a student wants to learn some like 5 different mechanics, mechanics, by the way, hote hain is tarah like, shooting, jumping. That's very basic mechanics. There's also like more complicated mechanics. So if any kids want to learn those more complicated mechanics, we teach them very customized things during the camp. And again, like that is our focus as well. We don't want to just, like give them like a curriculum and phir wo chale jaye. Like when we're teaching them, we're making sure that whatever they want to learn, they learn that with us.
Okay, so just a few follow-up, I think. Ek to ye ki what age group do you target?
Yeah.
And is there, for example, once kids come in, and this is, girls, young girls.
Yeah.
Once they come in, is it that, is it kind of like a थोड़े steps हैं, like आप पहले ये program कर सकते हो, फिर ये दूसरा वाला advanced है, फिर उससे advanced है, और जो camp है, is it, like a destination? Because that's, I mean, as someone who's in Pakistan, हमेशा movies देखते हैं, तो बच्चे summer camp चलेंगे 3 महीने, so is it like that kind of camp?
Yeah.
Or do they literally, wake up every day and come home, or, what is it?
Oh, so our age group is 8 to 18.
Okay.
So we divide up the camp into 2 different groups. It's a junior camp, junior group, and a teens group. And the reason we do that is because obviously the learning pace, style of the younger ones is going to be very different from the older ones. So I think that was your first question.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is if it's a physical destination or not. Yes, it is. It's both. Actually, it's a physical destination as well, and there's a virtual camp too.
Okay.
So yeah. So the physical camp is only in certain cities. Matlab US mein, it's mostly on the coast. So like Los Angeles, Seattle, San Francisco, New York, DC.
And they run at the same time?
And they run at the same time.
Okay,
It's always in the summer because that's when kids are off.
Yeah.
The virtual camp, we've had kids join from like as far as Pakistan.
Oh.
Yeah, so kids have like virtually, उनके लिए बहुत लेट होता है, 10 बजे रात को उनका शुरू होता है, वो 3 बजे तक कैंप पे होते हैं.
Yeah.
But they have so much fun.
Really?
Yeah, I cannot tell you, but they don't want to leave. Like at the end of 3 weeks, they're like, please, हमें extend कर दें, या, maybe just, make another community where we can just see our friends and our counselors. And so to answer your question, it's both physical and virtual camps. So anyone can join us from anywhere in the world.
And are the physical, for example, if I am a person who is, I want to enroll, I want to be part of the virtual, I can't because I'm old now. Wherever I want to be part of the virtual camp, is it that, वो simultaneous, you're like, मुझे नजर आएगा physical camp में कौन है या virtual file है? अच्छा, okay.
Yeah. So like the physical runs on its own.
ठीक है.
The virtual is its own. But the virtual के साथ ये होता है कि like, each camp has about 5 different kids.
ठीक है.
Joining from, let's say, कोई Europe से होगा, कोई America से होगा, कोई Pakistan से होगा. So that's very cool because they get to meet people from everywhere, right? And then those small classrooms also get to interact with the bigger, like, full cohort.
Oh,
so like we have some games times and things like that, some webinars, जहाँ पे वो सारे आते हैं, and then they have like a live chat, and then someone will be interacting on the main screen. And the kids can also just show up and start talking and stuff like that. So they would really feel like they're, actually tuned in into a space. It's kind of like what you guys are doing with the game jam in some sense. It's virtual, but then people can also come in. Person. Yeah.
That's so much fun. And is it fun interacting with 8-year-olds, like excited about game building?
It is really fun interacting with 8-year-olds. I was not of the opinion, but like I was like, yeah, 8-year-olds have kya baat karoge? But like you just need to drop like one word to them, and then they just take that conversation from there. To itna spark of creativity hoti hai unki, ki they can dazzle you. So it's actually more fun working with the younger kids as opposed to the older kids. They have a different energy. They're more into the games and they're more like, I want to win this. The younger ones are like, ha ha ha, like, we're here to make some games. And then they just, bond and get along with the counselors. And
that's so sweet.
So cute. It's super cute.
Something like someone with the younger ones, or maybe even the older group said something that like really stuck with you.
Let's see.
I'm putting you on the spot.
Like it's a very specific question. It's a good question. I feel like मुझे ये लगता है कि वो मुझे समझते हैं कि I'm this older person who's like, she comes on and she's like, hi, there's this क्या कहते हैं developer from PlayStation who's gonna talk to you now, and I'm like, अच्छा अब हम उनको सुन लिया. Then I come back on and like, all right, everyone just come on, let's take photos, because they come virtually, so we take photos. They're like, okay, we've seen this girl somewhere. But the thing is, I don't necessarily directly interact with the kids because at this time, because I'm programs director, so I have to oversee all these gaps. So like the virtual one and the in-person one. And mera dimag jo ye hote chal raha hota hai ki is everything going okay or not. But yeah, I have observed the kids. I think one of the biggest things that I have seen is that they become really, really good friends with the counselor. So if the counselor is interested in them and actually taking care of what they're thinking about, you form this like bond where they see you as a mentor. They see you as an inspiration. They will take whatever you're saying seriously. And obviously it feels good to you, but then it also feels good that, they're taking something out of it.
In terms of like managing all of these things, like what are some of the things that you face as challenges on a day-to-day basis? And if we take the conversation a little bit towards women in game building, what have you seen in the past few years in the US? Have attitudes changed? Is there an attitude change needed, or is it an inclusive space? Like, what is the landscape like? So I know there are two questions. The first is, what challenges do you face personally? And in your opinion, like, how do you see women either receiving some like क्या कहते हैं some resistance या ये कि some like opportunity to grow?
So to answer the first question, which is what are the challenges that I have seen, sometimes what happens is that students don't really know or students and institutions, मतलब जो schools वगैरह हैं, they don't really know exactly what the impact or the learning aspect of CAP is about. So when we try to reach out to them, they might not necessarily see the value. This is true of anywhere in the world. It's not just Pakistan. So then what we have to do is we have to maybe create like a small workshop for them if they agree, right, to begin with. And then when they kind of see from that the kids did feel very happy and they did want to learn this material, then they kind of make sure, okay, we'll do something with the company another time, right? That's a small problem. But what we, thankfully, it's not a huge problem. There are enough people who are interested. But it is something that we try to actively work on as well, especially in lower income cities or lower income communities, because unke already itne apne challenges hai, you can't really be like now how to get them excited about games, right? But other than that, it's organizational challenge. Like when you haven't logistically managed so much, you have to really think about how to, first of all, like nothing should go wrong with the kids, right? Because these are minors they're working with. Second of all, like how are the counselors and the people who are actually on the ground are truly taking the value of GMG and the spirit in Hamara? Are they making an impact in that sense or not? Are they actually carrying the spirit or not? To train them really well. And then obviously, जब आपके simultaneously like 300 students 3 हफ्ते के लिए games बना रहे हैं and they're also minors, making sure all of that goes okay is like a real logistical challenge. So thankfully, it's been done for 10 years, which means anyone who is a little hardworking can, approach it with that open mind and learn it. But other than that, I wouldn't say बहुत ज़्यादा, it's like a challenge. Obviously, we have reached 23,000 kids. There's too many kids in the world.
Yeah.
So reaching everyone is a challenge, but we are trying.
Yeah.
We're trying to do our best. And your second question was about women facing resistance.
Yeah.
So
इसमें ऐसा एक चीज़ है कि if you can also add कि probably another layer to it is also like demographics. Like how do you see a difference between, as you said, like children approaching children, getting children to come in who are probably not from very privileged backgrounds, and and also some change that you might have seen in those communities. So I mean, women and other like socio-economic marginalization.
Yeah, definitely. We've had kids join like so we are very generous with scholarships. We made a point that if someone cannot afford camp, we're still going to take them to camp.
Yeah.
And that was very useful because we've had kids join from Brazil who, let's say have only ever, they have a computer, but unke paas unka school normal sa hai. They're not really like getting these extracurricular activities. We've seen them come to camp once and then come year after year after year after year. Like, they get so hooked on like the game building aspect. They get so hooked on like the community aspect. And I have personally seen these kids become more confident over time. So I think impact-wise, it's amazing. Like, something like this can actually change people's personalities, or maybe more like bring out their true personality.
Yeah. Help them achieve their potential, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then other than that, like, because it's such a niche area, like it's a very niche thing, like making a game. Not everyone's thinking about making a game, right? So a lot of times what happens, already kids who are already in that pull, उनको होता है already interest होता है उनको, passionate होते हैं वो, so then for us it's easier like to tap into their potential. But yeah, there are a lot of shy girls who are like, man, my parents put me into this, and we're like, don't worry about it, just stick around for a couple days. And it really happens. Like there was this one child a couple of years ago who was very shy, very much like, I'm not sure if I wanted to be here. My parents put me into this, and by the end of the 3 weeks, he was like a completely different person, just blossoming with energy. So yeah, like, I don't know if I really answered your question here.
I think you have, and you've also opened up like so many other interesting questions. That I have. Yeah.
So in that sense, it's a very positive medium for us. Literally, like, that's why we're in this. That's why we're like, this is something that people need, and not many people are thinking about it. That it's the same thing what you were talking about. Like Yasir probably did not know there was a need, but he just came up with something as like, I need 10 people, and then it exploded.
Yeah.
So it's similar in that sense.
I think people are more and more moving towards like, people understand the value of a puri zindagi hai. So you might as well, do something for the rest of your life where you enjoy. Because we've seen the previous generations be miserable in their jobs,
I know.
and just feeling like, Pakistan or other countries, maybe ye mulk idhar se idhar chala gaya hai, or hum udhar nahi pahunch rahe. So what's going on, right? Like what is the issue ke hum creativity ko nahi channel kar rahe ya kya nahi kar rahe. So I think that's such a sweet story about like, girls getting more confident, but it's such a shame that they don't come in with that level of confidence. And it's great that these initiatives exist. But that's what I get to hear more often than not, that कि at least local context में कि काफी सारी जो बच्चियां होती है, we're talking about हमने इस कंट्री के साथ compete करना है, but उनके पास access ही नहीं to technology, right? अगर वो यूनिवर्सिटी में जाके पहली दफा they're opening, using a tablet, then they're light years behind everyone else who is proficient at it.
Exactly.
So the fact that you are, making such a big point about being inclusive and offering scholarships, like, that's lovely to hear. Yeah.
And exactly. And I just wanted to add to this point. So the workshop that we did with Mindstorm on Friday, I was really happy to see girls not from necessarily O and A levels.
Yeah.
And they were from Kichdi. And like, Kichdi is a great college, I know. But still, it's local context में that is like FSC. And वो एक बहुत set curriculum होता है, और आपको एक set मतलब होता है कि आपने accounting ली है तो आपने उसी field में
Yeah.
So for them, when I saw them and they came here, it was a completely new experience for them, right? And very honestly speaking, OA levels में बहुत opportunities मिल जाती हैं. But I don't know if that's true for all
Universities, yeah.
all colleges and all schools in Pakistan.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So it wasn't that they were not smart. They were very smart. They were very passionate. They were very interested. But maybe they've not had those opportunities.
Yeah.
You know? So I was super happy. The girls from Kichdi and it was like, you know, matlab, it's better for them, right? Because maybe they probably will. I'm not saying anything against Kichdi, but it's more like, you know, I'm not sure what kind of opportunities are there.
Yeah.
I went to an OA level school. मुझे पता है कि हम लोग तो खुद ही opportunities create करते रहते थे. You know, like our school was very open about it. And generally एक वो एक चीज़ होती है ना कि like after a certain point the kids just don't explore anymore. तो उनको इस एज में अगर आप दे देंगे इस तरह की चीज़, so now a lot of them were like, where do we continue learning? They literally asked me that question. And I was so happy. I was like, thank God they're asking me this question. And I was like, yeah, there are resources online. I mean, they can even go to our website. They can go to Mlabs website. There's resources, like they can join the game jam next year. They can possibly, like, you know, जो एक curriculum उन्होंने सीखा, आप दूसरा curriculum सीख सकते हैं on our website as well, or anywhere on the internet, right? But the fact that this opened that pathway for them,
Yeah.
that was what was, you know, amazing for me to see.
Yeah, and I think I would definitely echo what you said because so Mlabs, I think in the past 6 months has organized maybe 2 or maybe 1 prom discovery workshop with women, and you know the goal was just to find out why are women not entering this industry or joining, right? And so we had people from academia, some people from industry, like, you know, just various people who were somehow linked to game building, कुछ computer science की teachers. And we asked them, you know, आपको क्यों लगता है लड़कियां नहीं आएंगी? And I think their sentiments as well was that कि ये industry शायद मतलब क्या है, you know? So I feel like if the teachers in academia are also from a very young age, you know, telling the students कि आप इसकी तरफ जाओ, engineering की तरफ जाओ, ये की तरफ जाओ, which is great, like they're great professions to go into. But there are also those kids who don't want to go into it, right? And we need to find opportunities for them, you know, to excel. Yeah. और computers में भी मतलब FSC में भी O levels में मुझे नहीं याद कि computer science पे कोई, you know, बहुत creative class में जाते थे, बैठते थे, start करते थे, बंद कर. So it's just like there's such a need to open your brain basically and see कि अच्छा, I'm excited about something, let me try and fail. That's something that, you know, is such a new concept for kids when they come in. कि मतलब fail हो गए, पता नहीं क्या हो गया, you know, it's okay to fail.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, I completely agree with you in that sense. कि मतलब you have to like try different things, right? Like you cannot just be like, अच्छा मैंने यही पढ़ना है from like 8, you are in 8th grade.
Yeah.
How much do you know in 8th grade, right? Like मतलब मुझे तो वही याद है कि I was like, ये मेरी किताबें हैं और ये मैं फिर, you know, मैं स्कूल जाना है, मैंने हमारे घर जाना है, right?
Yeah.
So adding to that, this is why we started at a young age. We wanted to work with kids at a young age. Like if they were not 8-year-old, मतलब 8 नहीं होते तो वो 10 होते, अगर 10 नहीं होते तो वो 12 होते, because we think that this is a challenge and a problem that has to be tackled at a मतलब बहुत lower level पे.
Yeah.
By the time you're in your 20s, it's still pretty late because, you know, to switch careers, to switch industries, it's not easy.
Yeah.
And to take the kind of financial risks,
Yeah.
it's not easy. So we were like, no, we're going to, although it's much harder to work with kids of that age, to 8 to 8.
I can imagine. Yeah. Yeah.
But we were like, if we want to be in this to create change, then we have to work with the younger kids.
Yeah.
And now we went the backward way. I think, you know, like this Mlabs works with the older kids. Now we're starting to work with older kids as well.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you guys want to be in this industry. How can we help you? How can we mentor you? How can we get you internships and things like that? But our focus will always be our younger girls, you know, like making sure when it comes to time for them to make a decision, they're not going to think, hey, this industry does not exist and, you know, they can't be a part of it. They will be like, I've done this multiple years ago and I can do it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everyone's telling us to wrap it up, but I think 2 questions are very important.
Yeah.
The first is कि मतलब एक तो ये हम game building बच्चों की तरफ आ गए, but what about like you as, you know, a leader, you know, someone who's in top management? Like, do you find a lot of women within this industry in top management? And also, मतलब, do you know why people aren't joining, or what are some of the barriers?
Yes, I can address that. So definitely there are some women, but again, it's not a lot.
Yeah.
It's the गिने चुने जो बिल्कुल मतलब who are very passionate about it, they'll go into the industry and maybe they have some sponsors who get them into the industry and things like that. Thankfully, there are still. The problem is multifold.
Yeah.
एक level का problem नहीं है. It's a rabbit hole if you want to go into it. But some of the things is that there's not enough role models. Not many know about the industry and what the industry does and what the impact of the industry is. The industry was primarily started in Japan and America and Europe and those countries, and it was unfortunately a lot of dudes. And all they cared about was making the games, but not necessarily making the industry. So that's why, it culminated in a way कि मतलब वो सिर्फ एक male-dominated industry हो गई. And so when girls are like in their, let's say 12th grade, and they're like, I'm going to go to school now, where should I go to by school? I mean, university, what program should I do? They're like, games, they're so unforgiving, mostly guys.
Yeah.
So why should I be doing this? That's where they make that decision. So, which is why when we will have the girls who reach that 12th grade, they will already have made games. They will already be like, no, there's something I can do as well. And then thankfully now a lot of companies have started taking initiatives where they want to invite women and they want to show panels कि नहीं लड़कियां भी काम करती हैं and this and that. So it's changing. Well, problem was this, there was not enough representation, not enough role models. It can be a toxic environment. It was actually games industry was known to have a very toxic environment.
Yeah, in the US as well. Yeah,
very unwelcoming. In fact, lawsuits हो चुके हैं इसमें.
अच्छा.
Many companies, very very big companies, are facing lawsuits for this problem. So now at least the problem is recognized. So it's changing with time.
Yeah, because I mean, there are so many things like long working hours that, make it an industry that might not be great for mothers. It might not be
exactly.
It's for safety issues, traveling.
All of that was not part of the industry.
Yeah.
So now it's starting to become part of the industry.
Maternity leave, someone told me that wasn't part of the industry a while ago. Okay, having kids, like, what's that?
What's very much like we're making games and we're only making games and we'll only be with people who make games. But it was also a very narrow way of thinking. So thankfully that is changing now, and there's a lot more roles, and people are trying to, there's diversity inclusive initiatives within companies as well, and they're working with companies like us so that that pipeline can be created.
Hi guys, we're back due to a technical difficulty, which is not our fault. हमारी जो यहाँ पे supposedly बहुत ही professional जो हमारी कैमरा टीम है, उनकी मेमोरी फुल हो गई थी और हम तब से बोल रहे हैं और हमारी कोई वीडियो नहीं बनी. तब ये बिजनेस बोलना पड़ रहा था, कोई ऑथेंटिक ना लगे ना तो हमारा कसूर नहीं है, पर शायद डालना हो जाए, हमने एक साथ फिर से बोला है.
No, it's been going really good, but we just had a minor difficulty. So
major. No, let's keep it as minor. It's too nice because, she likes all of the people here while I'm, really making life difficult for them. So, I'm just kidding.
Spice Girl.
Yeah. So Isra, batao, what's it like for women in the industry? Did you have a lot of role models? I think I just talk about did you see any disparity?
So of course, like giving the stats ही आप ले लो तो only 25% of game devs are actually women, which means जब आप representation की बात करते हो तो like 1 in 4 developers or whoever is in the leadership position will be like 1 of 4 women, right? 1 of 4 are women, so it's not the same. It's not as approachable of an industry. But thankfully, because of initiatives like ours and we're really, that is one of the things that became an outcome of our approach, that we were working with girls. So a lot of companies saw that as a natural fit. They were like, what, we want to work with programs like yours so that, when your graduates are older, or let's say if you have an older bunch of students that you're working with, they can get internships and mentorship positions with us, specifically in the industry. And that is obviously to change this stats, right? We don't want just 1, we might want 2 or 3 sometimes, right? As far as my role models, so I came from the tech industry, right? Usme bhi ye similar problem hai. It's better than the games industry. But again, I remember when I was a fresh grad, there were 12 engineers and there were only 2 women, and I was one of them.
Oh,
so that's,
it must have been
it wasn't easy, but I think I was younger. So मुझे ये चीज़ इतनी it didn't register. And thankfully, the place mattered. So the people I was working with were very welcoming and very good people. So the difference didn't come about as much. But yes, when you are thinking about becoming a leader in an environment like that, there will be some hesitation. But if you see someone at the top who's also, like you, it's easier to approach that person, maybe even for mentorship, Like it might be harder for me to ask someone who is not a woman for mentorship, but it's easier to ask another woman. So that's something that I want to do now.
Yeah.
It's one of my mentors. Yeah, I would love to be a mentor, and part of what we're doing is kind of mentorship as well at the end. But yeah, I want girls and women to feel like they belong in every walk-in corner of the world. And they shouldn't hesitate to maybe just ask for help when they need to, for this matter.
Yeah. I think, also I really like you're connecting the industry to, the training, because I feel like a lot of students, when they hear these programs, they think, hum ye program kar to lenge, uske baad kya hoga? So, I mean, to actually show them, it's not just hum aapko training de rahe hain, but, basically where universities are. Why aren't universities invested in getting us placed? So I feel like that's a really great, linkage.
Just adding one line to that. So we actually launched a non-profit. Its primary goal yahi hai ki we get women to go to college on scholarships. And we're giving them mentorships from the industry and internships from the industry. So this came out after, GMG has existed for a while, and we're working with the younger girls, but now this non-profit is going to be focused on that. And because it's equally important, like you said. So it's not the game development journey is not just one fold. You have to continue वो जो पूरी dedication होती है वो end से लेके मतलब 8-year-old से लेके 24-year-old तक you have to help multiple stages.
Amazing. And is this open for international and national students?
So right now the older ones it's US based, but we are working to expand that. But the camps and the workshops that we do are open to pretty much anyone.
और उसकी scholarships हैं.
Yes.
Okay, nice. I think मुझे फिर से इशारा आ रहा है कि बंद करूँ, हालांकि सबका technical issue था जिसकी वजह से और फिर से मजाक कर रही हूँ. But it was such a pleasure talking to you. And ending remarks, where do you want to see women in this industry?
I mean, keeping it as simple, if 50% of women are playing games, so then we want 50% making games as well.
If not more.
Exactly. So that's our goal, and let's achieve it in the next couple of years.
Yeah, and it might just be, we find out, maybe women aren't coming into it, but then it'll be a choice, they are given all the opportunities to join this industry, and if they're not, that's something else. But right now, based on our initiatives as well, we're finding that as soon as we create space, people come into it,
Exactly.
It's not कि वो space कोई fill नहीं हो रही, So I feel like वो वाली argument के शायद उन्हें शौक नहीं है,
वो कम है, वो आता जा रहा है,
और अगर नहीं होता तो फिर आती ना.
Exactly.
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, that perception is dying. I think people want opportunity, whether they're women or they're men, whatever.
Yeah, and it's a high-paying field, man. Anyone wants in this economy, imagine playing games and still being employed. Rounds too. That's a dream, right? Yeah. Thank you so much, Isra, for your time.
For having me.
And I had such a great time talking to you.
Same.
I'm going to miss you a lot at Mlabs. So we hope
I'll be back at that point. Yes. Thank you again for having me. And again, I love you guys and hope we continue doing stuff together.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
All right.